as
Yeah.
an adult and been like, I can appreciate this for many reasons now. But for a while, like in my like mid 20s to like
Yeah.
all the way up until like I had kids, I didn't listen to them hardly at all because I wasn't in that headspace. I
Totally.
didn't need that kind of music anymore, especially when I got married, bro. I don't need Blink-182 songs. All right, so February 17th, 1995, we're almost exactly on the 30-year anniversary. We get the debut record from Blink-182, that is Cheshire Cat. Yeah, dude. I let's see, how many songs was this? This was a sort of a long record, wasn't it? Or all their albums kind of feel long to me, if I'm honest with you.
There's 16 songs.
And what's the time on it? Like 40 minutes or something?
Run like this 41 minutes.
41. I was pretty close. So we got 16 songs, 41 minutes. That's not a terrible average. I think 16 songs is a lot for a band like this because there's a couple in here you could just get rid of, like a couple of the really jokey ones. As I
Yeah.
get older, like when I was in high school, I got it, I liked it. So maybe back then I wouldn't have said this, but there's a little fat to trim on this record. But yeah, man, Cheshire Cat, dude, is their first record. How familiar are you with this album?
Well, I mean, Blink. I think I really was familiar with Blink after Dude Ranch.
Right.
So 97 is when I got into Blink.
Me too.
But my history with Blink wasn't long. I didn't stay liking Blink.
Okay.
So I mean, I appreciate them. I love that album.
Sure.
And then I
Wait,
think
you talking about which one? Dude Ranch or Cheshire?
the one that came out in 97.
Dude Ranch. Okay.
No, sorry, yeah. That album was kind of my gateway drug into Blink and stuff. And because they had a skate punk sound that I think I really liked, that Lagwagon also had. But
Right.
It was just different. Like Blink also, they were more on, like, I guess, the emo side. They sing about girls a lot and all that kind of stuff. And I think the 15-year-old me could really relate to that. And then I had a neighbor with a Cheshire Cat CD. And I remember enjoying like M&M's and Wasting Time, those songs. I couldn't really name too many songs off of this record, though. I don't recall it too
well. I've got a couple of things to say. One, I still have this.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Is that from back when you were a kid?
Yeah. No. I didn't have this when I was a kid because I lost my house in a flood. This tape is from then, though. This is a first original cassette tape. I got this as I think it was a gift from somebody. Might have been a trade-in or something, but I lost everything in that flood, so I don't have anything that's actually from then except maybe 2 or 3 things in like total. But it's cool that I had this like old ass tape. Okay, I have a weird history with this album. Oh, my voice just cracked. That was weird. Okay, so question for you real fast though. When you said you didn't stay liking them, did you mean as they changed, you stopped being a fan, or you never even liked their old stuff still later on? Because those are two different kinds of things. It's like as they went on, I stopped liking their new albums, but I always liked their old material.
I think for me, it was a combination of things. I think it was kind of how my musical taste like changed as I got older and got more.
Yeah.
I just don't want to say aged out of Blink because.
Well, no, but that's exactly what you did though. Like I for a little while, I did the same thing. I've gone back to them now as an adult and been like, I can appreciate this for many reasons now. But for a while, like in my like mid 20s to like all the way up until like I had kids, I didn't listen to them hardly at all because I wasn't in that headspace. I didn't need that kind of music anymore, especially when I got married, bro. I don't need Blink-182 songs. I'm happy. Like, but I have come back around on them a lot. And with this record in particular, when Rob and I talked about it like a year or two ago,
I'm sure he's a big fan, right?
He loves this album. And I know he loves this band. I can't remember if he likes this album or not, but I remember that we ranked all their records and stuff when they were coming out with that new one. And my issue was the production on this, dude. Like the songwriting wasn't the problem. The production was terrible and the singing was awful. And I was like, ugh. Because Dude Ranch is like almost perfection. But remember how at the very beginning I said we're going to talk about like a pop punk, skate punk albums. Well, this is more of the bubblegum pop punk, and Lagwagon would definitely be more like the skate punk variety, but they're both heavily crossover. They both have a lot of similarities, and we'll get into that a little bit more later. But
definitely.
I find it odd that the very first track on this album, Carousel, is like the album peaks immediately. You turn it on, and it's like oh, that was the best song on the album.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really understand how they made the choices to do Eminem's, and then what was the other one called? The other single, Wasting Time. And those were the singles. Now Eminem's has a great guitar riff. It's a super easy, like almost metal, but like turned into pop punk. If you use that same, you can slow it down and do a different string, and you could have an AC/DC song. Like it very much sounds like that kind of music, right? But it's great. I like it a lot. But Carousel is very clearly the best song on the album. Although I do appreciate that. If you like the singles and then you buy this record, you get an even better song right off the bat. I can see that being a positive.
Yeah, the production's awful on this record.
Well,
the way the drums were recorded is just abysmal. But I mean, they're like a young fledgling band. From what I read, I think the drummer was still a minor at that time.
I think so. Well, here's the thing, man. You want to hear something funny, dude?
So
the last couple of years, I hated this record. But I listened to it this time, and I loved it, dude. And I think you're gonna laugh so hard. I think like bands like Husker Du and Jawbreaker have something to do with that, because I've been listening to a lot of 90s music with 90s production, 90s sounds, 90s flaws. Well, so when I put this on, what I've been listening to lately, whether I like it or not, I'm in this weird headspace where that music is what's familiar to me. And so I didn't go from listening to like Rancid and Pennywise production to old Blink-182. I went from mid-90s alternative rock, punk, and grunge and all that stuff to some mid-90s pop punk. So like it doesn't sound super bad to me anymore. I think it's just a matter of perspective and kind of what you're doing. Because I'm fixing to dive into Jawbreaker and the first two Husker Du albums probably this week. I'm going to start giving those a listen. I wanted to wait a few weeks and then start listening to them. People have me pegged all wrong. They think that I'm just going to be like, I hate this and that's it. But I'm going to give these other records some time.
Just to kind of go on what you said for a second, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at the first Jawbreaker record. It doesn't sound anything
that's
like
24 Hour, right?
No, that's unfun.
No?
That's unfun.
Okay.
Yeah, it came out in like 1990, 89 or 90. So
I don't think I've ever heard that one then.
Early 90s kind of pop punk, but I mean, they were like the goats of pop punk, at that time. They were very influential band. But
see, this is the thing that's going to piss people off. I don't even consider them a pop punk band. They're like an emo band to me. But
in their career, later.
But I haven't ever heard that first album. And like with Husker Du, I haven't heard their first two yet. So I imagine I will have a different opinion of both of these artists and both these bands like in another week or two, which I have a blast doing this, man. I love it. Whether I like an album or not is almost irrelevant because I just love dissecting music. And, I literally have been called unpunk by people in the comments, and I just sit back and I chuckle because I'm like, what are you doing sitting in your tripwear pants right now talking shit on your computer? Like you have no idea.
No, I mean,
well, I don't have to pull out any kind of credentials and give them to you because I just
discover things and you like what you like, and that's it.
Well, it's not only that, but like you have to be like part of the scene, and I would say that I am a pillar of the scene to a degree, at least in my part of the country. So like,
yeah, totally.
I just find it hilarious. I'm like, damn, bro, you were really mad about an opinion because I like Epitaph stuff. I grew up in the 90s, man. I'm sorry. I find that we're going to talk about that a lot in a minute because,
totally.
Yeah, dude, we'll get into that in a few minutes. So, okay, super off subject, I guess. The production, it's really grown a lot on me, man. I think that's pretty cool, man. I wonder if they ever released like a remixed and remastered version of this album. You know if they ever did that?
I'm sure it's happened. As the years go on, people like revisit these records a lot.
Right.
They remaster them. I'd be curious to hear a remaster. The album after this was recorded much better.
Oh, dude, it was like a different band almost. Like, but I think this was like a really well done demo, and it got some attention because with this listen through, I even had
got a record deal with this record.
Right, and that's what I was gonna say. It's like you have to be able to sit back and look at it from those vantage points. Like if I was a record producer in 1993 or 4 or 95 and I heard this, would this entice me to go, hey, I think I can get these guys in there and make them sound a little better? Yeah, of course, man. I mean, there's parts in this album where it's just so flat that you can absolutely tell, like, okay, if I give them some more money and better production, a better producer, like this exact song will sound 5 times better. And knowing that, you could easily take them and put them in the studio and go, hey, I need 12 songs, guys. Write 15 or 20 and record them, and we'll pick 12 out and we'll see what we can do. Now, I don't think it was that easy, but like that's the cliff notes of how that happens, I would think.
Yeah.
But
100%.
So you said you weren't familiar with a lot of the songs. I don't think we're going to spend a ton of time talking about this album just because I don't think either of us have that kind of relationship with it. And I think that's okay. We're just reviewing it. Did you even listen to it before we got on here?
This one, I dropped the ball and I didn't listen to this record today.
Well, okay. So first off, that sucks. But second, then I'll ask you to listen to a couple of tracks that aren't the big ones, right? If you get time, listen to the song Cacophony. It's a really unique song, and I never really put it together, but if you listen to Cacophony, it's got a different style to it. The whole vibe of that song is different from everything else on the album. And I think if you are listening to it just solely like soaking in the music and Blink-182's entire history at this point, you're listening to it through 25 years, you'll hear a lot of what they were going to do and like self-titled and beyond in that one song. And I never put that together. It's interesting what'll happen when you listen to something you've heard 100 times, but you just all of a sudden are enjoying it more. You start paying attention more. It's wild.
And honestly, to be fair, this album was probably played a lot when I was younger.
Yeah.
In the background somewhere by somebody, because everyone had it.
Yeah.
It was 15, 16, 17 years old. Like Blink was one of those bands that was kind of in rotation.
Dude, for sure, man.
Pop punk kids,
especially at that age when we're all in high school, bro. Like, look, we didn't outgrow them until we were in our 20s, but in high school, how many days, dude, look, when I was listening to this, I was transported back to when my dad was still alive, man. I was thinking about, I remember this girl that I had a breakup with. I remember skateboarding. I remember hanging out with my friend James a bunch. Like, I remember these songs. Like, I heard Dude Ranch first, but when you're that young and you go back to the store to find new music, you tend to grab the bands that you like and go to their earlier records. And Blink-182, this was only their second record, or Dude Ranch was only their second record. So I had to go back and get Cheshire Cat. I don't think I ever got a hold of Buddha until way later, and I hated it. I still don't really care for it because that is their actual demo. It's. I mean, you may as well just listen to Cheshire Cat. It's like half
of the songs end up on Cheshire Cat.
Like half of them, I think. Yeah. I don't know if that's true, but a fair amount, yes. But yeah, man, I think that this album has a lot of glimpses into the future of what they became as a band. And I think Travis Barker really just opened up a lot of doors. Now, I prefer this drummer solely because he's just more of a punk rock drummer. And Travis Barker, I respect the guy. I think he's a cool dude and like objectively a fantastic musician. But like, I want like more of a straightforward, like, Phil.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need like the. Nah, bro. Like, chill, dude. Chill. You're ruining the fucking song.
Blink became something else, though.
Yes. And so
they had bigger visions for themselves, I think.
Right. Well, dude, like, I think that Enema of the State is like peak that kind of music, and then it goes to me downhill from there. Like, I don't like anything off of Enema. Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. Really, I actively dislike Self-Titled, and then after that, I like some of the Matt Skiba stuff, but I'm just a Skiba stan, so I just like his voice, and I like what he did, and so I kind of just like that. I can accept that, but their latest record, I think was way overhyped, very overproduced.
This is my take on Blink. To me, Blink-182 is like the new metal of pop punk.
I mean, you're not wrong.
They're just very. There was so many pop punk bands in the mid '90s. Like
Blink-182 did to punk what Korn and Limp Bizkit did to metal.
That's kind of my take on Blink.
I so agree with that.
Blink, they have a lane. They carved out a legacy for themselves. Arguably, they're one of the biggest, if not the biggest, band in that genre. to exist.
I would say that they're most important, but like the thing is this, man. Their early stuff is like objectively pop punk. It changed at some point, and I'm cool with that. It's just like AFI. Their early stuff is fantastic. I love it. I don't care for the later stuff, but kids can get into the later stuff and funnel into like punk. So I'm cool with it, man. Like we need accessible bands. Travis Barker clearly likes like real deal underground, like hardcore and punk. The other guys really like the Descendants and Pennywise. I don't doubt that a bit. So, if you think about it, if I was in that band, would I want to write Dude Ranch again and then write Enema of the State again? Like, no, of course not, man. I'd want to write a different kind of record. So I don't really fault them for it. I just don't go and listen to it.
Yeah.
So
I think what happened to me is like I stopped liking that whiny pop punk as much as I got. I was like, these guys are just
they're just goofballs. Well, they're pretty goofy. Well, here's the thing. With that song Cacophony, that's where you start to get below the surface and start understanding like, oh, they're not just goofball kids. They've got some real talent. They've got some real they can write some songs to do some deep music. But if you listen to the song TV, do what?
No, there were some awesome songs for sure. They're really good songwriters.
Well, they have after Cacophony, I think it's a couple more songs. You get to one called TV. It's got a lot of really great vocal melodies because there's a lot of bad vocal melodies in this album because they just didn't know how to sing very well yet, right? Whatever, I don't sing any better, so I'm not judging them. Well, I guess I am kind of judging them, but I'm not trying to be rude about it. But TV has some great vocal melodies, and I wrote down, I'm very surprised at my opinion of this record right now. I used to really dislike it. I think part of it is that I've been listening to a lot of, I already said that, about the 90s stuff. So, like, yeah, all the sonic sounds, but TV is another one of those songs where I heard it from a different perspective this time, and I was very pleased with what it sounded like. I think overall I would have probably rated this album like a 4 out of 10, maybe a 3 out of 10 like a year ago, and I'm gonna give it like a 6.5. Like not 7 starting to get where you got like a really good album, and then you get up to 8 where you're getting like awesome. 9s are like excellent and perfect. 6.5 to a 7 somewhere in that neighborhood, I think is very appropriate for this because again, it's their debut record. There's 3 songs that are just outstanding, and there's a few that are real good deep cuts. And I've come around on the production of this a lot. I'm gonna have to eat a little crow. Rob sees this, he's gonna be like, "You motherfucker!"
Is really interesting to me. He's got that Fender.
Do what?
He's got like that Fender tone on this record too.
It's like, the guitar.
Yeah, it's like this like single coil pickup.
See that, dude, I wouldn't even know about that. You're gonna know more about that than me.
I mean, I listen to shit like that, right? I'm like, is that a Hummer, or is that a single coil pickup guitar? Is that a Fender? Is it a Les Paul? I can usually tell.
That's awesome. I couldn't do that for $1 million.
But he's been playing like a Stratocaster the entire time he's been in that band. So that tone on that record is pretty iconic for what he was doing. His guitar tone on that album.
I can agree with that. I don't know what made the tone, but I can tell you that tone is absolutely iconic. It's got
the strum on the guitar. That's Cheshire Cat, Blink-182.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm glad you pointed that out. I like that.
It's kind of it's got that charm to it, and that's something about a lot of '90s albums that I like because there wasn't a lot of studio tricks back then in technology. I mean, you like tape essentially. And you had a certain number of takes that you could do. So you just had to fucking
right.
And whatever came out. So so those flaws and imperfections are just a part of the record.
I've mentioned this recently on here, so I don't remember what video. So my apologies if I'm just repeating something I said last week. But when I was talking to Roger Merritt, he was telling me about his band, the Alligators, and they basically go in the studio and they write the songs in the studio and they go, all right, or they'll bring a song to the studio, but it's very, very much, they don't spend a ton of time on it because they want to get a particular feel on the record. And I respect that and I love it because it does give you a different feeling. And he says, they go in and they go, okay, man, play it 3 times. On the 4th time, we're hitting record. So if there's flaws, we're keeping them. Dude, I think if you want to capture the feeling of like what it felt like when you were writing the song, I think that's a really good way to go about getting that feeling through the speakers. And I think an album like this, I'm just now understanding that that's what it was. Is I was getting more of a live feeling of very young, unpolished band that were destined for stardom, you know.
And for the kind of music that we like punk and hardcore, it's whenever a band goes in the studio, I think the engineer in the band would just rather have play live to begin with.
Right.
Because the more overdubs you do, you're taking away from the energy and the urgency of the performance. It begins to sound a little bit produced.
Yeah, I mean, if you have 300 hours and you can do 17 tracks for every guitar, then it just doesn't sound like a band can even play that. It just sounds like a digital sound. But
I know, right?
and everybody likes what they like. I think that's more of a metal thing where they want to have like perfection with their sounds. Like I heard a lot of metal over the past 20 years that have like drums that I can't stand because the bass drum, it sounds robotic where it's like, and there's no variance in the actual sound. So I'm like, how are they hitting it to the exact same degree and pressure every time? They're not. They're using some computer aid, and I think that's so lame.
Exactly. Yeah. So those little things were make an album great, and this record is far from perfect, but I can see its importance. Definitely.
Yeah, I can see its charm, and I'm glad that I've come around on it. And this is exactly why I listen to things more than once. I used to not do that. I'm very different than I was even a few years ago, which is again why I will ultimately listen to some of the Husker Du stuff, like even New Day Rising. I'm gonna revisit that record once I get into their earlier stuff, because somebody was explaining it in a comment. Like, so many people were rude, but there was a few people that were really helpful, and they were like, "No, man, once you listen to these," because the thing is like my friend can tell me to do this, and I'm like, but some dude I don't even know, I don't. I think we all kind of do that to a degree, but people were telling me like, "Oh, if you listen to the first two, if you like them, wait a while, get used to them, then go into that one, and you'll probably see it different."
The thing with Husker Du is that they're one of those bands that kind of grow on you. Yeah, it's for me, they captured me right away because, like I said at the time, I was doing a lot of acid and listening to a lot, and you know, like sonically, just fucking hit me in a way that it's something I wanted. You know, it was an itch that it scratched. So for me, you know, they quickly became I got it, I guess. You know,
that's so wild. That's awesome.
And you know, and the replacements were similar for me, but I think I gravitated more toward Husker Du because I just like
the replacements. I've heard a little bit of, and I enjoyed what I heard to a certain degree. I'd say like I give it like somewhere between 5 and 10, like maybe like 7.5s for me. Yeah. The Meatmen,
the Minutemen.
Okay, which one are people comparing Husker Du to?
Minutemen, which I don't know why people are comparing. They sound nothing alike at all. Like they're on the same label. They toured together.
So I've heard them, and I didn't think they sounded alike either. No, and I was like, I don't get it, but whatever. Back to Cheshire Cat, just so we can close this part of the conversation up. I'm gonna go with I think I'm gonna go 6.75 on this record. Like it's very close to a 7 now. And I think with a few more listens, it might get to a 7. But there's a couple of songs that I think should be taken off of it, and for that reason, it'll probably never eclipse like a 7.5. I can love this album, and it'll never get higher than a 7.5 because there's like 2 or 3 songs that absolutely need to be taken off of it. But there's a lot of charm there. There's a lot of things that I didn't hear before because I was too stubborn because I just didn't like the production, so I didn't give it the proper chance. And I think that's I don't think there's anything wrong with that. People get all up in arms about it. It's like, look, dude, that's how I felt at the time. Like I'm allowed to change my mind. I'm allowed to grow as a person. I'm also allowed to decide I don't like it anymore. So if I love some album and then 2 years down the road I go, don't like this anymore, and there could be any number of reasons. I can't even listen to Anti-Flag anymore, and they were like one of my favorite bands of all time, and I can't even hear their songs because I just go,
it's once it's kind of soured for you, it's really hard to get into.
Right. Yeah. So
I know that people talk about like separating the art from the artist and stuff, but I can't
hardly do it.
Yeah, I really do. It's hard for me to do that. You know, it's like no one's gonna listen to R. Kelly anymore and be like, "Yo, that shit's the jam." You know,
I always bring up R. Kelly because he's the big popular guy. And I'm like, dude, I mean, do you listen to Chris Brown and then think like, "Oh, he's such a sweet guy to women"? Like, no,
yeah, don't shit too. Fucking Chris Brown, like, yeah, let's.
But you know, nobody's perfect, myself included, and my favorite bands aren't perfect. So I'm gonna shut up and just keep it pushing. I try to be respectful. That's all I can do.
We knew everything that the people in our bands did at one point or have done.
Well, that's the thing is that
there's a lot of music.
Everybody is human, so everybody is flawed. And I think everybody makes major mistakes and bad decisions at points in their life. And if I was judged on the things that I did in my early 20s, nobody would like me. I couldn't get a platform. My channel would never hit 10,000. I would never have a label.
You'd be canceled, bro.
I'd be canceled, and I'd be a fucking bum, dude. I was not a bad person, but I was a shithead, and I was a junkie.
Can't be yourself. You learned, became a better person.
Blink 182, Cheshire Cat has absolutely grown on me. I think that record deserves a little more respect than I was giving it. So hats off to Blink 182. It's about to turn 30 years old in just like a week. Congratulations to Blink 182, to specifically Mark and Tom, because like they were there from day one. So
totally,
it's pretty incredible, man. Pretty incredible.
I like.
Sorry, what?
I like that they're still at it. You know?
Yeah, and Mark has conquered some stuff. They've all three actually conquered quite a bit. Travis Barker in that plane accident, Mark and his cancer. Mark had cancer. Tom and his like going off the rails and being kind of
a Alex Jones fucking
bro.
Well, that shit.
Yeah. So shout out Blink-182. I know all the super diehard punk guys think they're posers and think I'm a dork for talking about them, but okay, don't watch it then.
They just have a lane. Not posers though. You know, whatever.
I mean, I'm a big poser, so I've been told in the comments of my videos.
Everyone's posting in the comments below. Tell Randall how much of a poser he is.
Let's go, dude. Do it. Make my day better. Make me go in the bathroom and cry and masturbate into a toilet. Oh shit. Ow. Okay.